Who knew canned fish could be ultra healthy and help out the environment? If you've been sleeping on canned sardines, it's time to wake up. These little fish pack a powerful flavor punch. Canned sardines are, as the name aptly implies, the canned version of the sardine, a schooling fish that's in abundant stock in seas across the world. These small, oily fish are named after the Italian island of Sardinia, which used to be a big fishing hub for sardines. While these tasty sea critters come in plenty of varieties, it can be a bit tricky to tell them apart once they're canned, partly due to the fact that they're usually packed in oil. This may not sound like the most appetizing Italian food you can imagine, but they're definitely worth a shot, especially if you like anchovies and herrings.
Morning. Care for sardine?
But while they come from the same family, anchovies and sardines are different species. And when they're canned, they taste completely different. This is partly due to the fact that anchovies are cured in salt, while sardines are preserved in olive oil, in keeping with their Italian heritage. And before you ask, the answer is no. They're not interchangeable in recipes, so prepare your ingredients accordingly. Step 1 of the sardine canning process: catch some sardines. Because they're so small, giant nets are typically utilized to scoop up a bunch of sardines in one go. After being whisked out of the water, they're transported to a sorting facility and graded, with only the higher quality fish making it to the next step. The chosen ones of the sardine yield are then pre-cooked, either by being steamed or blanched. In addition to preventing them from turning into wet mush, this process makes it so that if you're desperate for your sardine fix, you can eat them straight from the can. After pre-cooking and being assigned a flavor element, the sardines make their way to their new homes, a vacuum-sealed can. The cans themselves are then sterilized and briefly heated to kill off any bacteria, a necessary step in the process that preserves the sardines for way longer than their typical shelf life. Before the cans go out for labeling, they're once again inspected to make sure that none of them have split or started to corrode. When the facility is certain that its sardines are ready to hit shelves, the cans are labeled, packed up, and shipped out. Good news for anyone considering giving sardines a try. If you're a fan of other canned fish, you'll probably be a fan of these too. There's a definite fishiness element because, well, they're fish. And there's a strong element of salt as well, unless you go with a low-sodium option. As we've established, while they're comparable to anchovies, sardines have a less intense umami flavor, so they're an ideal choice if you're looking for just a slight bit of punch from your seafood. Canned sardines work especially well with tomato flavors, and can often be packed in a tomato-based sauce. They're also well-suited to Mediterranean vegetables and may come in pepper-based sauce blends or packed with olives. They work well with spice and are frequently paired with hot sauces or mustard blends. Canned sardines that have been smoked also give them a deeper, more intense flavor. The flexibility of flavors packed with this fish gives you way more options than tuna. But it can also mean that you end up being stuck with one specific flavor that you have to work with. If you're worried about this, it's best to go for a plain version and add whatever sauce or ingredients you happen to be hungry for. The taste and texture of canned sardines is noticeably different from the fresh version, which has a gentler flavor and a firmer consistency. It all just depends on what you're looking for when it comes to your fish feast. Now we come to the real reason you might consider picking up some canned sardines. That sweet, sweet nutritional value. 100 grams of canned sardines provide almost 25 grams of protein and a generous amount of heart-healthy omega-3 fatty acids.
Gram for gram, or pound for pound, however you want to look at it, they are the most omega-3 dense food that you can find. Like, they're great.
They're also abundant in calcium, largely thanks to the edible bones and skin in the fish. Eating skin and bones may not sound appetizing, but the health benefits are a good reason to embrace your inner barbarian. Fortunately, sardine bones are soft, so while you might notice a slight grittiness as you bite into them, it's not like you'll be gnawing on bones like your dog loves to do. And if the benefits of that sweet calcium intake fail to outweigh the thought of eating bones and skin, you can either debone them yourself with kitchen tweezers or find a slightly more expensive can of boneless, skinless sardines. Rounding out the health benefits, canned sardines also provide a huge amount of vitamin B12, as well as a laundry list of attractive vitamins and minerals that'll save you a trip to the pharmacy, like phosphorus, potassium, selenium, niacin, vitamin A, vitamin E, and copper. It's not all good news though, as you need to keep an eye out for the sodium content. A standard can of sardines will contain over 300 milligrams of sodium per serving, and if you've picked a brand with a particularly salty sauce, then it could have way more. Be mindful of sardines packed in oil as well, since they may provide a significant amount of fat that you may not be planning for. So if you're gulping down canned sardines purely for their health benefits, go with a low-sodium brand packed in water. In the case of an apocalyptic event that will send you down into an underground bunker to hide from the usual threats of nuclear fallout or zombies, it would be good to have a few cases of canned sardines on hand. Thanks to the canning process, sardines can last up to 5 years without fear of spoilage or deterioration. The color can naturally change over time, and the sardines can become less flavorful. But hey, you can't be too picky if you're trying to survive from whatever has you camping out in a bunker in the first place. As with any canned food, be wary of any dents or other signs that the can has been compromised. If bacteria is able to sneak in, even the most pre-cooked of canned sardines won't be safe to eat. An open can of sardines can be kept in the fridge roughly 3 to 4 days before they start to spoil. So once they're opened, don't let them sit around. And kudos for getting the fridge all the way down into the bunker. Those things are heavy. Canned sardines are way more versatile than people think, so your cooking options are honestly endless. They can be used in everything from stews to soups to casseroles and curries to add fishy flavor and boost protein. Keep it simple by stirring them into a pasta or a salad, or get fancy with some fish tacos. Mash them up to turn them into a dip with some herbs and spices. Thread them onto a skewer and make grilled canned sardines, or just throw them on some buttered toast and chow down for an easy yet deeply flavorful snack. As always, how you use your sardines will depend on what flavor they are, but the lesson here is simple. Don't sleep on the versatility of these little fish.
Great on crackers, great as in salads, on pizza, really anything. I think they're delicious.
Mercury is one of the biggest concerns when it comes to seafood, and it's especially worrying when it comes to canned fish. So, if you're the type to knock back a few cans of tuna a week, then first of all, wow, you must really love tuna. But you also need to be wary of how much mercury you're consuming. The good news is that canned sardines are one of the lowest mercury food choices you can make. According to the U.S. Food and Drug Administration, sardines have a mean mercury concentration of 0.013 parts per million. To put that into perspective, canned light tuna has 0.126 parts per million, while canned albacore tuna has almost 30 times the amount you'd get in your sardines. The reason that canned sardines don't have as much mercury can get pretty complicated, so bear with us a minute as we get into the gritty details. Ready? Here we go. Sardines are smaller than those other fish. All jokes aside, sardines also aren't eating up other fish that have mercury levels stored up, so they don't build up mercury as time goes on. Bigger fish, by comparison, feed on smaller fish, which means that they're increasing their mercury levels over their lifespan. Seafood is great, but sometimes it can taste a little fishy. You're not being picky if you agree. Seafood can often have an overbearingly briny taste that ruins your enjoyment of it and gets in the way of all subtlety. This is a particular issue with canned sardines, even when they're packed in a sauce that helps temper it. Fortunately, there's a way to combat all that fishiness by adding some fat. Sardines are often packed in olive oil because the extra fat helps to stop their inherent fat from oxidizing, which causes that strong fishy flavor and smell. So if your sardines aren't already packed that way, drizzling some olive oil on them will help smooth out and mellow their flavor. But remember that it's important to not overdo things, as sardines are pretty fatty anyway, and be sure to balance things out with some salt and acid too. If we've convinced you to give canned sardines a try, you may be wondering which brand to get started with. Luckily, the knowledge is already readily available. If you want a good quality brand that's also widely sold in stores, King Oscar and Wild Planet canned sardines will hit the spot. Both brands have a meaty, fresh flavor to their fish, with King Oscar's sardines being especially creamy and rich. Wild Planet sardines are also a top choice for sustainability, and although their water-packed sardines have a metallic flavor, they really nail it with their olive oil-packed sardines. Other brands like ABC Plus and Fangst sardines may be slightly harder to find, but they deliver a truly exceptional flavor, albeit at a slightly higher price. At the other end of the spectrum, Cento sardines may look attractive, but their flavor lets them down thanks to the substandard olive oil they're packed in. Siesta Co., Roland, and Dobrava sardines are also best skipped if you're looking to start off your canned sardine adventure on a high note. Choosing sustainable seafood is one of the best things we can do for both the environment and fish stocks around the world, so you can add helping save the world to the canned sardine benefit list. Sardines are plentiful, and eating them will be far less impactful than buying tuna or other more endangered fish species. But before you run off and fill your grocery cart with canned sardines, there are a few things to consider. Although sardines are abundant in seas around the world, purchasing them can mean you're buying canned varieties from far-flung locations, which may contribute to food miles. Try to buy varieties that have been fished and canned in your own country, or in countries that aren't too far away. Also, Keep an eye out for the Marine Stewardship Council Blue Label on canned sardines to make sure that the sardines are being fished in an ethical and sustainable manner as well. It's a little extra work, but that peace of mind is sure to make your sardine feast taste even better.
We're very interested in sustainability because it's our future.
It's our future.
If we harvest everything, then we have nothing.